Continuing with Exodus 36.8. And all the wise-hearted men among them that carried out the work made the tabernacle. They made 10 curtains of fine twined linen and blue and purple and scarlet. With cherubim of artistic work he made them. The length of one curtain was 28 cubits, the breadth of one curtain for 4 cubits. The curtains were all of one size. And he coupled the 5 curtains one to another, and the other 5 curtains he coupled one to another. And he made loops of blue on the edge of the one curtain that was at the edge of the first coupling. Likewise he made in the uttermost side of the curtain in the second coupling. 50 loops made he in one curtain, and 50 loops made he in the edge of the curtain which was in the second coupling. The loops held one curtain to another, and he made 50 golden clasps, and coupled the curtain to one to another with the clasps, so the tabernacle was one. And he made curtains of goat's hair for the tent over the tabernacle. 11 curtains he made them. The length of one curtain was 30 cubits, and 4 cubits was the breadth of one curtain. The 11 curtains were of one size, and he coupled 5 curtains by themselves, and 6 curtains by themselves. And he made 50 loops upon the edge of the curtain that was upmost in the first coupling, and 50 loops made he upon the edge of the curtain of the second coupling. And he made 50 clasps of brass to couple the tent together, that it might be one. And he made a covering for the tent of ram skins dyed red, and a covering of takish skins above that. And he made boards for the tabernacle of shittim wood, standing up. The length of a board was 10 cubits, and the breadth of a board 1 cubit and a half. One board had 2 tenons connected one with the other. Thus did he make for all the boards of the tabernacle. And he made boards for the tabernacle, 20 boards for the south side southward, and 40 sockets of silver he made under the 20 boards, 2 sockets under one board for its 2 tenons, and 2 sockets under another board for its 2 tenons. And for the other side of the tabernacle, which is toward the north side, he made 20 boards, and there 40 sockets of silver, 2 sockets under one board, and 2 sockets under another board. And for the side of the tabernacle westward he made 6 boards, and 2 boards made he for the corners of the tabernacle on the 2 sides, and they were coupled beneath, and coupled together at the head thereof to one ring. Thus he did to both of them in both the corners. And there were 8 boards, and their sockets were 16 sockets of silver, under every board 2 sockets. And he made bars of shittim wood, 5 for the boards and of the one side of the tabernacle, and 5 bars for the boards of the other side of the tabernacle, and 5 bars for the boards of the tabernacle for the side westward. And he made the middle bar to slide through the boards from the one end to the other. And he overlaid the boards with gold, and made there rings of gold to be placed for the bars, and overlaid the bars with gold. And he made a veil of blue, of purple, of scarlet, and fine twined linen. With cherubim he made it, of artistic work. And he made it 4 pillars of shittim wood, and overlaid them with gold. Their hooks were of gold, and he cast for them 4 sockets of silver. And he made a screen for the tabernacle door of blue and purple and scarlet and fine twined linen, of embroidered work, and the 5 pillars of it with their hooks. And he overlaid their capitals and their joints with gold. But their 5 sockets were of brass. And Bezalel made the ark of shittim wood. 2 cubits and a half was its length, and a cubit and a half its breadth, and a cubit and a half its height. And he overlaid it with pure gold within and without, and made a rim of gold to it round about. And he cast for it 4 rings of gold to be set by its 4 corners, even 2 rings on the one side of it, and 2 rings on the other side of it. And he made poles of shittim wood, and overlaid them with gold. And he put the poles into the rings by the sides of the ark, to bear the ark. And he made the covering of pure gold. 2 cubits and a half was its length, and 1 cubit and a half its breadth. And he made 2 cherubim of gold, beaten out of one piece he made them, on the 2 ends of the covering, 1 cherub on the on this side, on the end on this side, and another cherub on the other end on that side. Out of the covering made he the cherubim at the 2 ends of it. And the cherubim spread out their wings on high, and spread with their wings over the covering, with their faces one to another. Toward the covering were the faces of the cherubim. And he made the table of shittim wood. 2 cubits was its length, and 1 cubit its breadth, and 1.5 cubits its height. And he overlaid it with pure gold, and made for it a rim of gold round about. Also he made for it a border of a handbreadth round about, and made a rim of gold for its border round about. And he cast for it 4 rings of gold, and put the rings on the 4 corners that were on its 4 legs. Over against the border were the rings, the places for the poles to bear the table. And he made the poles of shittim wood, and overlaid them with gold to bear the table. And he made the vessels which were upon the table, its dishes, and its spoons, and its bowls, and its jars for the pouring out, of pure gold. And he made the candlestick of pure gold, of beaten work made he the candlestick, its shaft, and its branches, its bowls, its bulbs, and its flowers were the same piece, and 6 branches going out of its sides, 3 branches of the candlestick out of the one side of it, and 3 branches of the candlestick out of the other side of it. 3 bowls made after the fashion of almonds in one branch, a bulb and a flower, and 3 bowls made like almonds in another branch, a bulb and a flower. So throughout the 6 branches going out of the candlestick. And in the candlestick were 4 bowls made like almonds, its bulbs and its flowers, and a bulb under the 2 branches of the same, and a bulb under 2 branches of the same, and a bulb under 2 branches of the same, according to the 6 branches going out of it. Their bulbs and their branches were of the same. All of it was one beaten work of pure gold. And he made its 7 lamps, and its tongs, and its ashpans of pure gold. Of a talent of pure gold he made it, and all its vessels. And he made the incense altar of shittim wood. The length of it was 1 cubit, and the breadth of it 1 cubit. It was 4 and 2 cubits was its height, and its horns were of the same. And he overlaid it with pure gold, both the top of it and the sides of it round about, and its horns. Also he made for it a rim of gold round about, and he made 2 rings of gold for it under its crown, by its 2 corners, upon its 2 sides, to be placed for the poles with which to bear it. And he made the poles of shittim wood, and overlaid them with gold. And he made the holy anointing oil, and the pure incense of sweet spices, according to the work of the perfumer. And he made the altar of burnt offering of shittim wood. 5 cubits was its length, and 5 cubits its breadth. It was 4, and 3 cubits its height. And he made its horns on the 4 corners of it. Its horns were the same, and he overlaid it with brass. And he made all the vessels of the altar, the pans, and the shovels, and the basins, and the forks, and all the fire pans, all its vessels he made of brass. And he made for the altar a brazen grate of network under its ledge beneath, placed halfway. And he cast 4 rings for the 4 ends of the grate of brass to be placed for the poles. And he made the poles of shittim wood, and overlaid them with brass. And he put the poles into the rings on the sides of the altar with which to bear it. He made the altar hollow with boards. And he made the laver of brass, and its pedestal of brass, of the mirrors of the women assembling, who assembled at the door of the tent of meeting. And he made the court on the south side, southward. The hanging of the court were of fine twine Linen 100 cubits, their pillars were 20, and their brazen sockets 20. The hooks of the pillars and their joints were of silver, and for the north side the hangings were 100 cubits. Their pillars were 20, and their sockets of brass 20. The hooks of the pillars and their joints of silver, and for the west side were hangings of 50 cubits. Their pillars 10, and their sockets 10. The hooks of the pillars and their joints of silver, and for the east side eastward 50 cubits. The hangings of the one side of the gate were 15 cubits. Their pillars 3, and their sockets 3, and for the other side of the court gate on this hand and that hand were hangings of 15 cubits. Their pillars 3, and their sockets 3. All the hangings of the court round about were of fine twined linen, and the sockets for the pillars were of brass, the hooks of the pillars and their joints of silver, and the overlaying of the capitals of silver, and all the pillars of the court were bound with silver, and the screen for the gate of the court was embroidered work of blue and purple and scarlet and fine twined linen, and 20 cubits was the length, and the height and the breadth was 5 cubits, answerable to the hangings of the court. And their pillars were 4, and their sockets of brass 4, their hooks of silver, and the overlaying of their capitals and their joints of silver, and all their pegs of the tabernacle and of the court round about were of brass. That's Exodus 38 to 21.